Welcome everyone to another session of our Global Employability Expert Series. My name is Mirta Aguirre. I'm the head of employability at Virtual Internships. And in our topic today, we have how to succeed in an environment of hybrid and remote collaboration. And for that, we have a very knowledgeable speaker, Dr. Helena Pleinert. And let's discover a little bit about Helena. So Helena grew up in Switzerland, Austria, Libya, and Israel. She is a physics engineer. She has a PhD in ETH. This is Switzerland Institute of Technology in Zurich, one of the best places to study technology in the world. Her first job was as a project manager in research during her PhD. Her second job was as an analyst and manager in financial services. And her third job was as an entrepreneur and CEO focused on new work. As you know, she has worn many hats, so she knows about working in different areas, and she's all into academic cooperations and teaching, and she's a lifelong organization enthusiast. Also a gamer and sci-fi fan. Maybe you tell us which is your favorite series and if you have any recommendations for us, Helena. So with all this background, in today's session, Helena will have a conversation with you and share all her expertise and knowledge about the state of and the trends in hybrid and remote collaboration in the professional world, how you can compete and collaborate successfully in an increasingly hybrid professional environment. We will focus on behaviors, not on technology, and some pitfalls to avoid. So thank you very much, Helena, for being here with us. I'm really looking forward to this session, and the floor is all yours.
Thank you. So I will share here.
Thanks everyone for joining. Hope you enjoyed the webinar. Excellent.
Okay.
Thank you,
You
Helena.
should see my screen now. So
Yes.
Welcome everyone. Happy to see you. So let's go. Let's go. And thank you, Mirta, for this introduction. So let's go here. A little bit more about me and about how I got to this topic. So you can see here, this is the little me, the little Helena. And when I was a kid, one thing I found fascinating is space. That's also how I got into science fiction. I'm a fan of science fiction, lifelong fan of science fiction, also a writer of science fiction, and I loved to watch on TV the real space activities. And that was something I was very enthusiastic about. At the same time, I was also always curious and very interested and fascinated about what happens, how are things organized in the professional world? How can people come together in teams and teams of teams and make themselves very effective and achieve their objectives so much better than, let's say, an unorganized group of people? How can you organize people, motivate people? This was very fascinating to me. I always asked my parents, how are things organized at work? Who is doing what? Who is working together? Who is in which team and so on? And that's what became my profession. And here's a little tip, not particularly relating to my topic today, but perhaps a generally interesting tip for you. When you look at what career you wish to pursue, perhaps you can also analyze, is there something that going back through the years, as you were young, as you were a teenager, as you were a kid, you always found fascinating? That would be a small tip on the side here. So let's continue. What's my experience in particular in remote, hybrid, and immersive? My company, Pleinert and Partner, we have been a remote company since the founding, since 2006, 100% remote. So that's of course a lot of experience in leading and working in a remote team. And we have worked with the clients in a hybrid way and increasingly remote way. In the past, when you go back towards the first years of the company, then we went on site to the clients because that was how things were done back then. But then with time, things became more and more hybrid and even remote. And it's not us who asked the clients. It was the clients who wanted to move to remote and hybrid means of collaboration because they felt it was more flexible. And this happened before the pandemic. It's not because of the pandemic. That's a misconception. Just I'm not going to talk about the pandemic otherwise, but let me open a little parenthesis here. It's a misconception to say that remote came up because of the pandemic. The pandemic greatly accelerated the development of remote, but remote had started before and was driven by the wish for more flexibility. Yes, so that was in the professional world and in my professional life. Outside of my professional life, but also sometimes in my professional life, I became a resident of the online world, Second Life. Also, since almost the beginning, Second Life was started in 2003. So that's a 3D online world, a socializing platform. Some people say a game, but it's not a game in the sense that you have points that you have to achieve and so on. You can do whatever you wish. You can socialize, you can shop, you can build things and so on. And you can also play games. So today, many people talk about the metaverse. This is a kind of metaverse predecessor. The difference to today's metaverse platforms is that Second Life, you access Second Life in the PC through the screen. It's a 3D environment inside your screen. While when we talk today about the metaverse, we mean a 3D environment generally inside your VR headset, where you are fully 360-degree immersed. But Second Life has been here for a long time, is still successful, a socializing platform. And I have also occasionally have business meetings there. And in fact, those worlds converge more and more. And then also I'm a gamer, as Mirta said, and gaming is also virtual worlds. So that's part of the experience as well. Continuing here. So here's an example of a Pleinert and Partner meeting room on the platform spatial.io. That's a meeting room that we use for workshops, seminars, and so on. And then here we have my family home in Second Life. So family home means that is the home that I share with my sister and my mother. We meet here about once a week, and then we set out from here and go around, see things, experience things in Second Life. As I said, it's not a game with a particular objective. It's a platform for hanging out. And that's where I meet my family, because also, not only, but also because they are not in the same country as I, but even when we meet and we are in the same place, when we meet in the physical world and we stay in the same place, we still meet here as well, because this is also our home. And I will come to this topic of place. That's a very relevant topic for the world of work as well. Yeah, and now about you, your experience in a remote, hybrid, and immersive. So I'm asking not just about professional, also could be in volunteer organizations, could be in recreational activities, as I have spoken about. What's your experience?
We have someone saying in the chat that this is very interesting. I cannot wait to talk to my nieces about this. Probably Second Life, right? I was super excited too. So Jackie, you mentioned that. Do you want to share your experience in remote, hybrid, or immersive environments? Okay, excellent, Jackie. She's saying, I personally worked remotely over the summer for like 6 months.
So
Anjay?
the question is what remote tools I use, or is that the question?
Okay, what remote tool have you used for remote work, right? We have Angie saying I work remotely and I use mostly Team and Zoom meetings.
Mm-hmm.
What is your preferred remote work or remote tool, right? Not only for work. What else do you use? I've had heard of Second Life, but I've never used it. I personally use a lot of WhatsApp, you know, that's very convenient for me. Yes, that's basically Zoom and Team and Gmeet.
Well, newer platforms of socializing. Now, not talking about the professional life, but social life. Second Life, as I said, is a very old platform. Newer platforms that some of the younger people may have grown up with, like Roblox, like VR chat.
Someone is saying I use WebEx while I'm working. And Molly's saying I did recently a remote internship. The tools we use for communication, including WhatsApp, LinkedIn, Zoom. And I was a struggle for me. Another person, Jackie, also sharing. It was a struggle for me due to working in an office for 20 plus years. We use Teams, which I found okay. However, waiting for the bubbles to populate was frustrating. I have the feeling that I don't know, maybe the we're not so knowledgeable about the tools that we have besides Tool and LinkedIn or Teams and Zoom. And maybe you,
Are
Helena,
there are
can
there
tell us.
no are there no gamers here?
Do we have any gamers? I'm not much of a gamer. I used to play The Sims when I was growing up. Do you remember building houses? Um,
That's also
MMORPG
virtual
gamer
spaces.
here. We have someone. Am I pronouncing it correctly? I'm not myself a gamer. MMORPG gamer here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Who else is a gamer
Yeah.
here?
So these are virtual worlds also.
Virtual worlds. I am on and off gamer, but I haven't used VR chat yet.
Yeah, VR chat isn't a game, it's a hanging out platform. There are many game worlds inside VR chat, but it's not mainly a game. Like the games in VR chat are usually more, or very often more, kind of a pretext to hang out together.
Yeah.
I feel. I mean, there are so many places in there. Maybe I'm not describing everything here now. Okay. Okay, so thank you. So it looks like you have a lot of professional experience in using
Someone is saying
digital
same as the
tools.
Central Land. That's some
Yes,
another.
yeah,
Okay.
The Central Land is a VR 3D world. Absolutely, yeah, virtual world. And it also connects to another aspect of the metaverse because it's blockchain based. The worlds that I mentioned until now, like VRChat and Roblox and Second Life, are not blockchain based, but there are worlds that are closely connected to the development of a blockchain economy. So that's another aspect of virtual worlds and the metaverse. There are new business models but that's a it's a different field. That's not the focus of today. Today we really talk about a remote, hybrid, virtual immersive.
Excellent.
Yeah, so many thanks. Many thanks for all your replies. So I can see that you are experienced with all kinds of many digital remote and hybrid collaboration tools. I got the feeling from the replies, but maybe I didn't see everything now, that maybe there were less answers touching on recreational platforms. Anyway, let me continue. Anyway, the focus of today is on the professional world, of course, and on your preparing for your career. So let's look at the technology first. And my focus is not really the technology, but the technology is the basis for how we use it. And then the focus is on our mindset and behaviors, how we succeed using this technology. So the technology landscape in remote hybrid, we could organize it like this. We have the ease of use or ease of accessibility by is something accessible by one click. That's what I mean here by ease of use. Then we have the degree of immersion in the environment and the degree of maturity of the technology. So the very first, the one that is most accessible is text. You can text someone that's by a click anytime, so many platforms you can text, and you don't have to check if the other person is available right now. Just text and they read it now or later, completely spontaneous, easy. Then you have voice. There, it's also very easy to go on voice communications, but the other person has to be available. That's why the ease of use is here slightly lower. And then we have voice and video, and there the other person has to be available and turn on the camera, be a place where it's convenient to turn on the camera and so on. So again, a little bit less spontaneous, but more information. With voice, you have much more information than just text. With video, even more information. I'm sure that most of you have heard how in text, only a small part of the information of what we say is conveyed, like something around like 7 to 10%. And then when you add voice, you come to like around 30, 40%. And the remaining more than 50% is video, is the seeing the expression and the gestures of the person you are speaking to. So that's why it's important also for things when you have something more complex to discuss. Then it's important to escalate this to voice to video. And on video, when you are one-on-one, then you can see each other very well. But the more people are in a video call, you all know, then it becomes less and less good for showing all the information that you actually need. And also it's not very, it doesn't, is not natural. It's not sitting around, like sitting around a table. Everybody is arranged on the screen like pictures in a photo album or something like this. It's not like you are sitting together in a room. It is certainly much better than what we had before. Before we had video conferences, we had telephone conferences. And imagine all the people speaking over each other in a telephone conference because they can't see. In a telephone conference, you can't see or you couldn't see who is starting to speak and so on. And you're not always sure who is speaking because maybe you don't recognize all the voices and so on. So a video conference is already a big step forward. We are complaining about what is not perfect about it, but we have to remember that we have come a long way with these technologies. It's impressive where we are already, and we are going even further. And that's what I'm showing here now. So there's the immersive technologies that are coming. So there is virtual reality, which exists currently and is used. Also, I use it regularly for business meetings, where we are represented as avatars. The limitation here is that the avatars are cartoonish. They do not show our full facial expressions. In fact, they show them in a very limited way. They can show our hand gestures. This is relatively good, but facial expressions is very much at the beginning of technology. There are cartoons, are avatars that are cartoonish, as I said. They don't look like us. The advantage is that we are in the same room. We are in a VR 3D environment. So we have the feeling, we experience being in the same space and the same place. And also one of the big advantages of VR, which is shown by research, is that there are less distractions than in video conferences, for example. So VR does have advantages relative to video conferences, but also at the moment still also important disadvantages, and that's also why it's not generally adopted yet. There are some meetings that are done in VR because of the immersion, meetings as well as conferences. I am giving various talks, for example, in VR, and but this is a technology at the very beginning. Also, when you look at these things, like here is my headset, yeah, you can see it's big and heavy. So when I put that on my head, I don't see anything around me. That's a MetaQuest 2. So today there is already the next iteration of MetaQuest, which is MetaQuest 3, and MetaQuest 3 has much more um, look-through capabilities so that you can, depending on how you have your settings, you can see your environment around you. But in the bit older headsets, you don't see anything. You can't even reach for a glass of water because you don't see where it is. So maybe you push it over if you try to reach for it. So this is a technology at the beginning, and it's also still, it's not like a one-click thing. Like people think that this is going toward some kind of something that's very easy to put on, like glasses, or something that you like a visor that you put on top of your glasses if you need it. This technology is not here yet, but it's going somewhere in this direction, is what people think who are working on the development. And as I said, now I'm coming to the second box here on the right bottom. So VR and AR. AR stands for augmented reality. So that's when you have an overlay of your physical space and virtual spaces and virtual objects. And that's where it's going. The newer headsets are all AR with look-through capabilities, and also avatars go towards being more and more realistic. So they are going towards more being like holograms. And there are many open questions how it will be. For example, maybe we want to have only our head to be holographic. So we have our facial expressions, but the rest of the body to be more cartoonish, also for reasons of bandwidth and performance. So there are a lot of open questions. So that's what's happening here. And that's the technology. So if you have questions anytime, otherwise I just continue, but I trust you ask questions when you have.
Yes, I will let you know if you have any questions.
Yeah, thank you. Okay. So examples of tools. So you mentioned, as I asked about how you work various tools. So some of the known tools here. I am not endorsing any of these tools in particular. I am just going to show some of the most known ones, and there are many others. So for text, voice, and voice plus video, so everybody knows Zoom, Google Meets, and Teams, of course. And we are now on Zoom, for example.
I
And
have someone who's saying,
yes,
Anmol is saying, I think we'll see much wider adoption of AR, VR tech in daily life with the coming of products like Vision Pro by mainstream companies like Apple.
yes, yeah. I mean, the new Apple headset is coming out on the 2nd of February, and that's a big step in technology. It is at the moment, it's not going to be a mass product because it's premium priced, but that's where development is going. One can see this also in the latest product from the competition, Meta Quest 3, which came out last fall, which is also more look-through. It's not the same price tag, and it's also not the same high-end functionality, but these are products in different price classes. But yes, you are right. That's exactly where things are going. Yeah, and that's what's happening here. So Microsoft is preparing a thing that's called Microsoft Mesh, and that's Teams plus VR. And they are using the Meta Workrooms. So Meta Workrooms is virtual reality workrooms by Meta, and integrated with Teams. Then if you put it together with Teams, it is Microsoft Mesh. So then in today's Teams, you can write a chat message in text. You can go on a voice communications. You can switch on the video. You can do this one-on-one or in groups. And what comes in addition in Mesh is that you can then also meet in a VR environment. So, and Mesh is already being tested with test users. So you can see this is all just around the corner, and it is developing so fast. I was just recently talking to a business partner who said that she felt that just like the big breakthrough of AI into the mainstream usage, AI has been developed for a long time, of course, but the big breakthrough moment was when ChatGPT came on the market. Suddenly everybody was using AI. And she thinks this is going to happen with virtual VR environments as well. There's going to be this moment when suddenly it's there. Yeah, and that's why we need to know how to utilize it before we go further into the business and behavioral side, or maybe in between, because here it's already about business. I want to show a bit what the use cases today are for the immersive technologies, that is VR, AR. So this is from a BCG report, the Corporate Hitchhiker's Guide to the Metaverse. That report is already 2 years old, but it's still very good, a very good overview. So we have here the business side and we have the consumer side. So in the business side, I would like to highlight like training and development. That's already quite established, using VR, also AR in training and development, not just to train, like the first applications was to train scenarios that would be dangerous to train in a physical place, like firefighting, police work, emergencies in a plane and things like that. That were the first applications. But today VR is also used for soft skills training, like training leadership, training communications, conflict management, because you can play through scenarios and it's much more immersive than, for example, role-playing these scenarios in a classroom, because in the VR you are like inside the film. Then, of course, there is this area of virtual collaboration that we talked about, which is very much at the beginning. And there are industrial areas like the augmented workforce, the simulations, virtual twins, for example, in architecture, in city planning, many things. There are applications in medicine and other areas of science. So there are already many applications, and some of them are really established. Then on the consumer side, of course, entertainment. We talked about gaming, and we talked about the social platforms, just hanging out, socializing independently of where someone is. And here it says like forums, concerts, dating, and so on. And then all the creative side. And there's a whole fitness industry also in VR. So that's to give it a bit more uh, concrete shape. And yes, then we go towards, so one step back. So why, like showing the use cases, this already is a way of showing why are we doing this, because we can do all these things. But let's look at it a bit more in the general and the abstract sense. So why remote hybrid immersive? It brings us increased flexibility, obviously, in space and time. It brings time savings because we save on transport and we can arrange meetings faster. Cost savings on transport, also on office space. Increased access to local talent. Why local? Why local? Because when you offer remote and hybrid work practices, it is an advantage in hiring. Most people, the large majority of the workforce wants the flexibility. So even if they are in the region, if they could in principle come to your office every day, they don't want to. And if you offer flexibility, you are competitive in hiring. You outcompete the ones that don't offer flexibility. The large majority of the workforce wants the flexibility. And then, of course, increased access to global talent, because you can hire people anywhere. You are looking for a specialist for something particular and you can't find him. And then you find this person, him or her, on the other side of the world. No problem. You just hire the person. Yeah? And then improved accessibility, of course, for people. There is not a question of whether they want or not, but it's difficult for some reason for them to come to an office location. And this is a matter of inclusivity also. And then reducing the environmental footprint by eliminating a lot of commute. Obviously, we reduce our environmental footprint in a big way, in a really big way. This is something people don't talk about as much, but it is very satisfying to think about. And we do this while we eliminate something that nobody likes anyway, like commuting. So all this helps us to have more productivity through the flexibility, the speed, and so on, more innovation through the diversity among other, and more diversity. But it has to be done right. It has to be done right. So it's not enough to just have the technology. It's not just enough to just install Teams and the hardware and have everyone have a camera and so on. That's absolutely not enough. You have to manage it right. And that has become very clear in the last few years. And we are doing this webinar for you to be aware of the important points, because that's an area that's developing very fast, and being aware of those points is something that I think will be very useful for you in entering a career. So these are points of mindset. These are the central points of this presentation and webinar. So first point about mindset that I want to make is that social co-presence is not the same as a physical co-location. Our technology today shows that, because we can be in a meeting in different places, but nevertheless feel that the other people are present. And the more immersive the technology is, the more it supports us, the more we are able to feel this. So of course it doesn't work without technology. We can, for example, I can't even make a telephone call without a telephone, just by power of will. No, it's not possible. I need the technology, but then I need the mindset. If I refuse to to open up to the possibilities, it's not going to work either. So the mindset is a choice. To have this mindset that presence is not necessarily physical presence. This is essential to work successfully across locations. And as I say, it's a choice. You don't have to. If you say, no, I prefer to work regional with people in the same physical location, that's how I want to work, and also interact socially, that's my choice. That's okay. That's perfectly a choice. But you miss out on the flexibility. You miss out on the diversity, on the reach. Maybe that's not important for you. That is your decision. The thing is, the new ways of working are an extension of what we can do. They are not some kind of obligation. It's an extension. It's something additional. So that's the first point of mindset that I would like to point out. And the second one is, a shared place is a social construct. A place is not necessarily physical. Let's look at this house here. So this house is physical. Here's a physical house. And there are 3 people inside the house. But this is how they see the house. And this house that they see, that's inside their heads. That's a psychological and social construct. And if you, as a passerby, and you don't know these people, you pass on the street, you walk along the street, you see this house from the outside. You see a very ordinary house, the most ordinary possible house here. You don't see the house that they see. They see this house like this, maybe because it's their home, or it's their clubhouse, and they have experienced many things here. So a space, a place is psychological and social construct. And so a virtual place can also be a place of meeting as much as a physical place. And that's very essential to understand also as we move into a more and more hybrid and remote world of work, a boundaryless world of work. And as you interact in it, and as you will manage people in it, and as you will have virtual reality tools or virtual world tools at your disposal. So how do we practice this boundaryless mindset? I have here a small list of important points. It is not necessarily exhaustive, but it's some points that are important to be aware of, to understand. And I would like to emphasize that this is not just in the future when you will be a leader. It's from day one in professional world as an intern, as an entry-level person. And also don't think of this future when you will be a leader in the far future. You will be interested when you succeed, you will be entrusted with responsibility very fast, faster than you expect. So affirming co-presence in behavior and language. I will bring an example to that on the next slide. Being aware of the social netiquette or metiquette rules. We'll show example also. Being comfortable with diversity and practicing inclusivity. Then being good at utilizing not only synchronous but asynchronous communication. This touches on this question of, perhaps you have heard how people say there are too many meetings. If you have more asynchronous communication to prepare meetings or to post-process what was discussed in the meetings, then your meetings will be shorter and more focused on the important thing. So this is also a skill. This is an important skill. Of course, especially as a leader, a team leader, a project leader, and so on, but also everyone who is able to use asynchronous communication and mix it in an effective way, profits and makes the people around you profit. Then we have here utilizing communication channels in a situationally correct way that overlaps a bit with the previous point, but that also refers to what I was saying about be aware when it makes sense to use text, voice, video, or even in the future virtual environments. And so this will contribute to your success, your team success, team that you are part of, or the team that you lead. And these things, of course, enhance each other. So here it's formulated in a general way. Now, let me show that in a few examples. Of course, this is totally not exhaustive, just taking a few highlights of examples. Practicing a boundaryless mindset examples. So in a hybrid team at multiple locations, you should make sure that you get into the habit that it becomes natural for you, that you communicate also informally, like for a coffee break, with people who are at the physical location and other locations equally, because in your mind, they should be equally part of the team and equally present in your mind. And this will also avoid in creating subgroups. It will support integrating the whole team. Then in a hybrid meeting, don't say those who are here, meaning those who are physically present. We have said that the here is not a physical thing. Use tools in an inclusive way. For example, there is this best practice of having one screen, one person in hybrid meetings, so that you don't have like people sitting around a table in a physical location, and then somewhere in a corner there is a laptop, and the people who are hybrid are all on the laptop screen and see nothing in the room. This is like the worst practice. And then, of course, there are things in between, but you should make it so that everybody sees each other equally. Then be aware or create if there are not rules for this is an example of netiquette or metiquette, acceptable delay in asynchronous communication. For example, are you expected to reply in 2-3 hours or in 12-24 hours? What is normal in your environment? There have to be certain rules for these kind of things. And be aware and respect different communication channel preferences as far as it makes sense, because you will always have people who are more reserved and who prefer to stay on text, who are reluctant to come on voice, even more reluctant to come on video, and there are other people who always want to go on voice and video and talk a lot. So this is a difference between introverts and extroverts. And to a certain degree, you have to adapt, but of course, to a certain degree, people also have to adapt to what's needed in the situation. And that leads me to my last slide. One more thought, a trap to avoid. So as we move into boundaryless world of work where our places will not only be physical but also virtual. We should not make this mistake here. Look, or not a mistake, but an early stage, a behavior that we can observe in an early stage of development of a new technology again and again. So this is a horse carriage, as you can see. And this is an early car. And as you can see, at the time, they thought a car is just, you just take away the horses, right? And it's a car, I mean, and you put in a motor. But as you know, cars develop to look completely different. And that's why what I'm saying is the office and the meeting place in the virtual space might look completely different also from what we have today in the physical space. It's not about reconstructing one-on-one a virtual replica of our physical space. There are very interesting things coming that we can't even imagine. And I close with a quote from a seminar participant in one of my seminars about this, where the participant said, "The future has a tendency to sneak up on you." Thank you.
Thank you, Helena. This has been super interesting. I've been reflecting a lot on my own practices. Do we have any questions? What questions do we have for Helena? I see someone here asking, I don't necessarily feel super comfortable having conversations using my camera and video with my supervisor. What advice do you have so I can be more confident or transition a little bit better? That's something that happens a lot with our interns that sometimes, I don't know, video makes them feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, that's a good question. Now I'm not sure, of course, if you mean relative to which side. You prefer to have voice only, or you would prefer a physical meeting?
I think it's voice mainly,
yeah.
yeah.
That's what I also observe in people who are not used to using video, and what I also experienced when I started using video. Like, because my company was virtual, was remote since 2006. At the time, video conferences didn't exist, be aware. So our remote company was all voice for many years, was all voice, and we were all used to having voice. And it was the clients who started having video conferences with us. And the same thing happened to me at the beginning, that video felt a bit uncomfortable in the beginning. And why is that? There are studies of what are the strengths and what are the weaknesses of communication in video conference. That is that the video conference, what disturbs you, what may be disturbing you, it forces you to focus on the screen, and this you are used to looking around while you communicate. You do that on voice without even noticing, because on voice nobody sees you, so it doesn't matter where you look. But you do that also in physical spaces. You look out of the window while you speak, and it's completely socially acceptable. But in video, you feel this obligation to look at the person, to make sure that they know that you pay attention. So it focuses us more, and in the beginning that is disturbing, and it can, but you get used to it. When you do it all the time, you get totally used to it. And nowadays, I so prefer video conferencing to voice only, because you see the other person, you see their mimic. That's very useful. But there is also a recommendation, and that's scientifically based, that video conferencing can be very useful when you need to focus, like you make a plan, a project plan, for example. Video conferencing is super for that. But if you do a brainstorming, something creative, then voice might be better, because it allows people to let their mind wander more. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I
that's
have a
part
follow-up.
of the situationally correct use.
Yeah, I have a follow-up question on this one. Is it possible that any fear around using video with a supervisor is more about the power dynamic rather than the video itself? How can interns increase confidence?
That's a question, a general question that is not just applicable to remote environments. I think that on one hand, it's primarily the supervisor's task to make people that work for them comfortable. But if they don't do that, what do you do? I think it's a question of working on your self-confidence inside your head to say, I'm not perfect, but I have all these things that I bring to the table, and remind yourself of all the value and all the good things that you bring to the table without becoming overconfident. Of course, I bring all these things at the same time. I want to learn more.
Yes, I guess this is a very interesting topic, because we have also someone saying, when in a Teams meeting, my old supervisor felt to me like they were not paying attention during our one-on-ones, and because they were still working on their issues, and made me feel that I was taking up their time. It's interesting, right? Because technology at the same time, it brings us closer, but at the same time, I think we have this idea that the other person can be doing so many things, and we have our preconceived ideas in our heads. There's a lot of work to do also with our mindset, like you mentioned before,
but
right?
that's a matter of netiquette. Like to be multitasking on a video conference is just as impolite as in a physical conference. It is just impolite, period.
And that's maybe, like you mentioned, important for us to make clear how the etiquette is, right? And express it clearly and say, we expect during a meeting that ABC happens, because maybe we are not so much used to that. I have someone asking, how about security and privacy?
That's a technological and a legal question. The privacy question is not particularly remote related. It is always in the workplace. There is a question of what happens with your data. In the remote situation, in the hybrid and remote situation, we have, in addition, the technological environment that your data is being transmitted, and IT has to make sure that the connections are secure, and also that data is not being saved, which are not is not allowed to be saved, or is being saved only as long as it's allowed. And then here I come back to the physical. This is also the same with physical files and so on. So yes, it's an important. There are new compliance issues, compliance questions. However, they are an extension of the old issues that were there already, just applied to a new technological environment.
I see. We have another question. As we improve the AR/VR technology and improve the virtual meeting platform, how can we prevent the tide from shifting towards a Ready Player One kind of culture? For those who are not gamers, what is the Ready Player One culture?
Ready Player One is not a game.
Okay,
It's a
so you know,
company.
I don't know. For those who don't know the term.
But I also don't know what is meant. Like Ready Player One is a company that creates platform independent avatars. So the
Okay.
idea is that, like, one of the things that the current metaverse tools don't offer yet is interoperability. That you can, like in the internet, you can hop from one website to the other by one click. But in the metaverse, you can't hop from one metaverse world into another, but you have to log into a different account, and maybe you have different avatar and so on. And the Ready Player Me avatar is an avatar that you can use on many platforms. But now I also don't know what's a Ready Player Me culture. Giving back the question.
Sorry, I was reading once again. I was reading a next question. We have so many questions, Helena.
That's
I'm
nice.
so
That's
happy.
nice.
Yes,
In order to answer
we
the question, I
yes.
mean, I haven't heard of a Ready Player Me culture. What do you mean by this?
Someone is saying Ready Player One is also a movie. Can the person who made this question clarify a
Yeah,
little
it's a
bit?
movie. Yeah.
Yeah. We have another question here. while the person clarifies this one. It says, it is not easy to convert the work wise of someone who is since 30 years working in digital. In addition to that, there is unfortunately leaders who have double balance, double standards. As example, Elon Musk said one time about home office, do you feel it fair that you work in home office and a pizza delivery man or nurse works physically? That was his answer on a question why he stopped home office in his company. In the same time, he sold his company as a digital shifting company. Now, more and more managers hear this from Mr. Musk, and they want to do the same with workers. How can we change this mindset? Yeah, I guess like this is an interesting question,
there
right?
are a whole number of interesting things here. So this question of fair, that question for me doesn't make sense, because you could also ask, is it fair that I am sitting inside while it's raining outside and the construction worker works outside? So does it mean I have to take my computer and go out, work outside, so it's fair? No, no, this is nonsense. Different jobs have a different nature. And in fact, also I mean, there are, of course, activities that will always remain physical, but also in the industrial sphere and in the medical sphere, there is more, like, for example, medical is a good example. There is much more telemedicine going on, yeah? Because there are activities in medicine also that can also be remote, not all, but some. So that is the second point. The first point is this question of fair doesn't make sense. Second point is some activities can be remote, some others not, but this is also evolving. And then the third question, why are some CEOs pushing for the return to the office? So numbers today tend to show that the return to the office has failed. It's just not shifting back. People are not going because you just can't hire people like this. You are at a disadvantage for hiring. People have learned how nice the flexibility is. People can see that it works, that they can be productive. So there is no going back. Why do CEOs, some CEOs, not all, there are CEOs who are proponents of working from anywhere, working flexibly, sorry. But there are CEOs who are for the return. So there are a number of possible reasons. One is that some leaders, as also was said in the question, just haven't learned to work in a digital environment or in a hybrid remote environment. They are afraid of a loss of control because they think that they are not able to lead in a hybrid team. This is not the problem of the team members. This is the problem of the leader. He or she has to learn that. So that's the first possible reason, that they are worried about losing control. Another possible problem that is not inherent to the leader themselves, but it can be that there is a question of the usage of the real estate. And this is, of course, also doesn't make sense, because we shouldn't work in the office only so that the real estate is being used. Yeah, that's not a reason if it becomes more efficient to work in a hybrid way and also more environmentally friendly. Of course, it means that we have to restructure our real estate, and that's going to go over years. And it also leads to a restructuring not only of individual real estate, but it leads to a whole structural change of cities, of urban areas. That's very interesting, and of course not completely without problems, but that's where things are moving. And then there is also the question, psychological question, and I mean, I'm being a bit mean here, but there's something I hear also a lot, that some people who enjoy office politics want, and they can't play the office politics as much in a hybrid environment, want people to come back so they can play their political games. And that's, of course, not desirable, because political games are just cost in performance.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm gonna take the last question. So what are your thoughts on a screen recording by employers?
So whether that's allowed. So a screen recording is only allowed when everyone approves, when everyone agrees. Like today, Mirta was saying, I'm starting the recording. It is in many jurisdictions, it is a criminal offense to record without the agreement of everyone. Now, you might say, of course, that the employer has the power to make people agree, that people would not disagree because they worry that it will reflect badly on them. That would not be a desirable situation. Yeah, employers should not abuse of power in this way. That would be a problem for sure. I think it's a matter of agreement, and it's a matter whether you find it useful. Like if you have a team meeting and you want to record it, it's not just the team leader who might want to record it. You might want to have the recording so you can check something. I think this leads also to the question of trust. Trust is a big topic in people management. How can we create environments of trust? Yeah.
Yes, definitely. Okay, Helena, I'm super happy. We had lots of questions from the audience, which means that people were super attentive and following your presentation. I wanna, before we wrap up, I wanna reflect on two things that you said that really resonated with me. This idea of creating a boundaryless mindset. I think this is very important for nowadays, where we are having all these opportunities to connect differently thanks to technology. And the other thing you said, here is not a physical thing, right? It's not a physical place. I'm taking these two takeaways with me. I think these are really nice reflections. And thanks a lot for being here. Please, everyone, you have Helena's information here. She's sharing her LinkedIn profile, so you can add her and stay in contact. And we have the same reflection from Amo, who's saying, thank you, Helena and Mirta, for this event, especially for the practicing a boundaryless mindset. See, I'm not the only one who picked it up.
Thank you.
I was
Many
planning
thanks.
on
It was a
asking about the
pleasure.
topic. Yes,
Many
thank
thanks
you
for
very
having
much,
me.
Helena. And thank you, everyone, for joining, and wish everyone an excellent day. Okay? Bye, everyone. Have a wonderful day. And thank you, Helena, again for this amazing topic.
Okay,
Bye.
I'm looking for the unsharing button, but it won't open the screen with the unsharing button.
I will close the meeting and everything will be okay. Bye, everyone. Have a wonderful day. And please complete the survey I just shared so we get your feedback. Bye.